Welcome to the Hotelligence Podcast, your strategic vantage point on the changing landscape of hotel safety. Hosted by Jim Kortz, a retired FBI DHS investigator, and Don Carr, a former frontline security owner-operator with years of first-hand incident response experience on hotel properties. Every episode brings you closer to understanding the full picture and what the future may hold. Let's begin.
Thank you for joining us on episode 14 of the Hotelligence Podcast. Why structure matters more than urgency. I'm Don. My background is owning and operating private security agencies, boots on the ground teams responding to incidents in real time across hotels and other properties.
And I'm Jim. I spent decades in federal law enforcement, working complex investigations where what was documented and how it was preserved often mattered just as much as what actually happened.
Every week on this podcast, we talk through the realities operators face, not from theory, but from having lived on both sides of incident response and its downstream consequences.
And one of the hardest realities is knowing when not to act.
Especially when awareness increases, when attention sharpens, when more information becomes available.
In those moments, urgency can feel like the right response.
But urgency is rarely neutral.
So the pressure to act. In hospitality, there's often an unspoken assumption. If you see something, you should do something.
That assumption usually comes from a good place. No one wants to ignore real concerns.
But acting too quickly or without structure can create risk of its own.
Legal risk, operational risk, reputational risk.
Sometimes the most responsible move isn't immediate action.
It's disciplined restraint.
So information versus obligation. There's an important difference between having information and having an obligation to act on it.
And that difference gets blurred when systems surface awareness without boundaries.
When information arrives framed as urgency, it quietly turns into expectation.
And expectation becomes duty, whether anyone intended that or not.
And that's where operators get stuck.
They're not trying to avoid responsibility. They're trying to avoid creating responsibility they were never meant to carry. So why the structure comes first is structure gives information a place to exist without demanding immediate response.
It allows awareness to be preserved without turning it into instruction.
It creates a boundary between knowing something and having to do something.
That boundary isn't avoidance.
It's a protection for staff, for guests, and for the operator. So let's talk about restraint as a design choice. In our conversations with operators, one thing keeps coming up.
They're not asking for more alerts. They're not asking for more dashboards. They're not asking for more pressure.
They're asking for a way to document reality without being forced into premature decisions.
Restraint isn't a lack of capability.
It's a deliberate design choice.
Yeah, one that says not everything needs action right now. So the long view, urgency feels productive in the moment.
Structure, well, that holds up over time.
And in hospitality, time matters.
Because incidents are rarely isolated. Patterns rarely reveal themselves instantly.
Yeah, they emerge slowly, quietly, through repetition.
Structure allows those patterns to exist without forcing conclusions too early. So in closing, this isn't about doing nothing.
It's about doing the right thing at the right time from the right role.
Structure doesn't remove responsibility.
It preserves it.
And in environments where liability matters, that preservation is everything.
And that's it for episode 14 of the Hotelligence Podcast.
Next episode, we'll talk about what responsible systems refuse to do and why boundaries matter just as much as capability. And remember, we're in this together.
And together, we make hospitality stronger.
We publish a short, written insider briefing alongside each episode. It goes out on Wednesdays when the episode drops. If that's useful, the link is in the show notes.
Thank you for joining the Hotelligence Podcast, where experience informs smarter, safer hotel operations and prepares you for what comes next. Stay informed, stay confident, and stay connected. As the conversation evolves, Jim Cords and Don Carr will highlight developments that help hotels strengthen their approach to safety and risk management. See you next episode.